Everyone, Hobbyist here. We are back at it again with another Nemesis character guide. And this time, we're going to be talking about the mechanic. In the last video, we talked about the scientist and just how useful he was. But this time, we're going to go over a little bit about the mechanic. So, while there are elements inside a Nemesis that you can't really control, like the player card that you get, the objectives that you might have, or the way that the draft pans out based on your player card number, if the mechanic is an option, here's a potential reason on why you would want to pick him. Obviously, the mechanic specializes in either fixing or breaking things. That's just kind of straightforward to the point of the way that his character is. So what kind of objectives inside of your hand are you going to want to use the mechanic for? If you have any personal objectives to where either the ship or the nest might need to be destroyed, maybe the signal might need to be sent, any ways to being the only survivor, those would be the means of why you would want to pick the mechanic. Like I said, the mechanic is the best character inside a base game Nemesis, probably in all of Nemesis, that is good at either fixing or breaking things. So, let's go ahead and move a little bit forward to what his items are starting to look like. First thing that we're going to go on is the sawed-off shotgun that the mechanic starts off with. It's 2 ammo, which isn't great, but the way that the sawed-off shotgun works is that any unmodified rolls of 1 target hit is treated as a 2 target hit, which is absolutely great. You just can go blam, blam, and do big damage, especially if you get those right. So, that's something to keep in mind, but again, it is not the best item in the world only because of the fact that you don't have as much ammo to go off of. So, you definitely want to keep those energy charges around in order to be able to constantly reload that shotgun. I mean, it's just as important as in any other game of Nemesis to try to keep your ammo high because it's the safer means of attack than any other means. Or, in worst case scenario, you take the chance of trying to run away. But hey, sometimes that's just how it be in Nemesis. So, that's the way that his starts off with, but now we're going to take a look at a little bit of his deck. When it comes to the mechanic, specifically with what he has, half of his deck is specifically exclusive just to him. So, we're going to first start with computer skills, which costs no additional cards in order to play, which is always great. As you probably know from my last video with the scientist, he also has computer skills. And then, as we'll learn about later, the pilot also has computer skills. And much like their cards, it is non-combat only, meaning that no aliens have to be in the room in order for you to use it, and it does the same thing. It opens and closes a door connected to the room that you are in, which sometimes always helps you catch a break, or closes the door in order to, make sure someone is trapped in a room with an intruder, or if you are in a room with a computer, use its room action without paying its cost. Again, those are always really nice, paying 1 card instead of 2, both for the aspects of making sure that you have more cards in your hand to be able to do more actions, but also it helps you protect you against surprise attacks if you're ever in a room surrounded by noise. So that's just something to keep in mind. The card that we have that's exclusive to the mechanic is that the mechanic hands down has the best repairs card in the base game. And it's not even close. Probably even the best repairs card, if not in all of Nemesis. Because fast repairs is essentially as a repair card, but it is significantly quicker and it doesn't cost you anything. No extra cards, nothing like that. So you can discard a malfunction marker from the room you are in, or repair the break the engine in the engine room that you are in. Again, it is absolutely fantastic. It's way more efficient than everybody else. I'm pretty sure everybody else inside a base game Nemesis has a repairs card, but it costs them 2 cards to do it. Whereas with this one, you just play the card in the room or the engine is already fixed. And you don't really need the extra tools or anything like that in order to do so. So, that is absolutely incredible for the mechanic. It is really time to get to the fun cards that are mechanic exclusive. I just wanted to show you those other cards as a comparison. But this is a non-combat only card, and it costs you 1 extra card in order to use it. And that is going through technical corridors. Use in a room with a technical corridors entrance. Move your character to any other room with a technical corridors entrance. And you have to pass after you use this action. This is significantly easier to travel through the vents than anywhere else, especially if you're playing on the alternate side of the regular Nemesis layout, where there are two technical corridors instead of just one, with two different layouts, so you have a lot more places to go on that version of the map in comparison to just this one. And I think that's just good for going around anywhere. Especially with the fact that, like, there's no attacks that are going to happen to you or anything like that. And just, it really is going to have to help you depend on what room that you're going to stop in. If you're trying to get to the engines, maybe either fix or to sabotage and break them, all of the engines inside a base game Nemesis are connected to technical corridors. So that's the quickest way to do that. It's also a quick way in order to explore rooms that you haven't explored already. So if you have a personal objective that has you explore all the rooms on the ship, this is also a great way to travel around. But the key thing that you have to remember is that it is still technically moving, so you would have to roll noise once you came out of wherever you popped out from the technical corridors. So that is really ingenuity. Probably my favorite card that ever exists inside the mechanics deck. It's a non-combat card, so no aliens have to be in there, so that's something to keep in mind. It costs you nothing in order to play it, and you get 3 options for using ingenuity. You can either use it to discard a malfunction marker from the room you are in, use it to repair or break the engine in the engine room that you are in, which is like fast repairs, or you can craft an item and use any yellow items as a screwdriver symbol for crafting. That is absolutely huge, because let me show you something. Back to the character board real quick. Crafting, here's what you can see. It's going to be way easier if you are able to find chemicals or anything else that causes fire, in order to either craft you a taser, which might be able to do 1 damage and then cause an intruder to run away, or even better, make yourself a badass flamethrower in order to torch those son of a bitches. Yeah. That's why I love the mechanic so much, because he gives you that much variety. And again, it's another one of those cards where, because it has 3 or options, the way that I like to play it etiquette-wise with my people who play with me is that I always just say, you can just say, I'm going to play ingenuity, and use the ingenuity action. Now, if they decide to do the discard malfunction marker, repair or break the engines, or use it to craft, then that is a great card. Because, like I said, you can be a little bit more mysterious as long as you're in the confines of using the card legally. Now, whether or not your group or everybody else on the ship is going to like you because of it, that's a whole other story in and of itself. The last card that I want to go over is also a non-combat card. It's going to cost you 1 extra card in order to play this card, and it's Pyrotechnics. It also has an or option, so again, I like to follow that same etiquette of, you could say, I'm going to do Pyrotechnics, whether or not you do the good thing or the bad thing. Who's to say? But you can either discard any item that you have to place a fire marker in the room that you are in. Sometimes that's great in order to either sabotage other people, or if there's a lot of aliens in that room, you're going to want to get out of there, set fire to it, and hope that they take some amount of fire damage in order to help you out. Or, if fire is going really crazy and you really cannot afford to be placing fire, you also have the option of discarding a fire marker from the room that you are in. That's always great. So yeah, you can use this either cooperatively or non-cooperatively, as I've mentioned multiple times throughout a lot of the decks inside of Nemesis. Weakness that you could see with all of these exclusive cards that the mechanic has all say, not in combat, not in combat, not in combat, not in combat, not in combat. So, if you are able to, with any of the other characters that I previously mentioned, if your objective is to kill someone who's the mechanic, you're going to want to try to flood him with as many aliens as possible so he has no ability to use what makes him really good at what he's trying to do. Sometimes it's just easier and better to escape through an escape pod. So, in order to do it that way and cut off a hibernatorium, make sure that the mechanic can't do what he can do best, which is fixing things. The last thing that we are going to cover for the mechanic is that we're going to go over his quest items. Honestly, there's really only 1 quest items that is sometimes worth it, depending on the situation you are in. Honestly, the flashlight is pretty garbage just because of what it costs in order to use it. But let's go over this plasma torch a little bit. As we can see here, the plasma torch only is going to cost you one card, and you can activate it when you find the storage room, which, if you don't know from the room sheet video, that the storage room is a room 1 card. It's always on the ship. It's just a matter of finding it and make sure it's working. So you activate this in the storage room, and then you have access to the plasma torch. It's an item that is specifically not in combat, and it doesn't take up a hand slot, which is great. It's going to cost you a card, but what you can do with the plasma torch is that you can open and close a door in a corridor connected to the room you are in. Destroyed doors can be closed using this item. The reason that destroyed doors inside of any parts of Nemesis stay on the board, even if they're destroyed, is because of this very item that the mechanic has. Because the mechanic can go back and say, okay, we destroyed this door earlier to get out, but now I'm going to go fix these up in order to be able to block off aliens, trap other people in rooms with aliens, or to make sure that no one else can interfere with what it is that I'm trying to do. So, this is essentially just a free open and close doors, per se. Because there's not a lot of ways to open and close doors inside of Nemesis. There really aren't. Aside from the couple of items that are one use, the fact that you can always have this just makes this so incredibly useful. You can do this both in solo to be like, okay, I need to close this door, let's move this way. Well, this door is broken, I'm going to fix it and close it. Or if you're trying to work cooperatively, again, it's probably the most diverse tool that the mechanic has in his arsenal. So I would say always, 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 regardless of which game mode that you're playing, unlock that plasma torch, as it's going to do you huge favors down the road. Don't want to get, and I think is the worst quest item that the mechanic has, is the flashlight. It's going to cost you one card in order to activate, but you have to discard an energy charge to activate this item. Energy charges are pretty much your bread and butter of survival, because they reload your weapons. Every other character aside from the captain has energy weapons, so you need those energy charges in order to be able to reload them later in case you run out of shots. Because last thing you want to do is run into the queen and not have ammo to fight back, because that is going to be a very hard and very sad day for you. But if you choose to activate this flashlight, there's something that a lot of other videos that have talked about the flashlight sucking haven't mentioned. Is that, okay, you activated it, doesn't take up a hand slot, it also is a card that's not in combat. If you pay 2 cards, you can perform a search action. This sucks. Why would you pay a 2-cost search action instead of just the free one that already comes in your deck? Here's the scenario that I'm thinking about. What if your deck is fully flooded with not infected contamination cards and you haven't been able to get rid of them? Your chances of being able to get a searched card get thinner and thinner and thinner the more contamination cards you get. Obviously, there's the whole risk of being infected anyway, but if you can't get to those search cards and get the items that you need in order to get the contamination cards out of you, or in order to heal up, or anything like that, then getting a hold of this flashlight is going to be able to help you. Obviously, it's not going to do you any good if any of the rooms are empty, which absolutely sucks. But that would literally be the only way that I would ever, for any reason, unlock the flashlight. The item requirement kind of sucks. The uses for it is not that useful when you already have free search cards in your deck. And that's pretty much it. With other characters, these are all the cards that are the exact same from the mechanic to the scientist to the captain. It has 2 search cards that are free, has a rest card, an interruption card that can be used, and a different cost demolition, which is nice, and potentially to be used, that everybody inside of Nemesis has. So, overall, what exactly do I think of the mechanic? I think the mechanic, again, is absolutely great, and I'll list my pros and cons up here, for fixing or destroying the ship, if that's part of your objective, or fixing or destroying things, just in general. He has the single worst quest item in the flashlight, so don't really ever bother going after it, especially with what it asks of you in order to unlock it. Always get the plasma torch in any situation. Always, always, always get it. And that's pretty much it. There's a very few cons. There's a lot of good pros. So yeah, that's honestly what I think of the mechanic.